Imagine that you are looking for a different way to get around. From what I can tell, you can either buy your own van and be responsible for keeping it up to date, changing the oil, replacing the tires, and other maintenance tasks, or you can rent a van. Since that car is yours, it is up to you to keep it in good shape. You could also rent a car if you wanted to. In this situation, you can rent a car for a monthly fee, and you are free to use it however you want. Just pay the owner the rental fee and everything else will be taken care of. You would have to decide which one was best for you and the smartest thing to do based on all the different parts of your life. You might not have enough money to buy a new van outright, or you might be too busy to take care of it. Well, if you think about it this way, the difference between a crypto coin and a token is pretty much the same. Hello everyone, welcome to Wealthy Wisdom. In this video, we're going to talk about tokens in cryptocurrency explained 2022, crypto coins versus tokens. If you're new to this channel, do like and subscribe to the channel. A coin uses its own blockchain to keep track of all the information, which in our example would show who owns the car. But if you have a token, your infrastructure is someone else's cryptocurrency's blockchain. When you make a token, it's kind of like paying rent. You don't have to make the blockchain, write the whole code, or think about how it should be checked. Instead, you just make the token, which then uses the blockchain. The best case study for this video would be Ethereum. Ethereum has a built-in blockchain that keeps track of value and verifies transactions. Over the last few years, the Ethereum team has been putting in a lot of work to fix bugs, update the system, and make it better as a whole. Ethereum's blockchain is the basis and infrastructure for Ethereum tokens, which are called ERC20 tokens. The Basic Attention Token is one type of ERC20 token that is issued on the Ethereum network. The team decided that it wasn't big enough to build its own mainframe, but they did want to make a way for fans to give money to artists they like in an easy way. The team can focus on making the Brave browser, which is a great product, with the help of the Fundamental Attention Token. The Brave team could focus on their own product because they had made a token that let them trust the Ethereum network for security and reliability. You should also know that a group of developers might decide to switch from tokens to coins if they think their project is growing quickly enough. Consider Crypto.com. They just launched their own mainnet, which is a fancy way of saying that they just put out their own currency and are now confirming their own transactions. They used to have a token, but it became so popular that they started their own blockchain and went their own way. This is important to remember because you can't just turn a token into a coin. Along with a currency that does the same thing, a bridge that lets people trade in their old tokens for the new ones could be made. For example, some currencies, like Leo, can be used as tokens on more than one network. Leo is part of the Ethereum, Binance Smart Chain, and Hive networks, for example. Another important fact is that some currencies are shown on other networks as tokens. For example, I just used the Binance Smart Contract network to buy something called Binance Peg Ethereum token. I bought a copy of Ethereum on the Binance Smart Chain network instead of the real cryptocurrency to see what its price would be. You might wonder why I did what I did. A typical transaction on Ethereum now costs about $20. But a transaction on the Binance Smart Chain only costs 50 cents, which makes exchanging an Ethereum representation much cheaper. If you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. At the same time, you could think of it like this. If you buy a gold stock, you become the owner of the stock, but the stock is just simple for the gold. You can always trade that stock for a piece of gold, so at least for trade, it is basically the same as gold. I really hope this isn't too hard to understand. Even though that is a simplified explanation, there are a few different types of tokens that we can use to group the purposes of each token together. Let me give you a few examples, and if you haven't already, you might get the idea. First on the list are security tokens. For example, security tokens are used to show that someone owns other assets. For example, if you wanted to buy gold but didn't want to keep it, someone could make a token that tracks the price of gold. This would let you own a representation of the metal instead of the metal itself, which is technically safer because it is much harder to hack an Ethereum token than it is to break into someone's home. In this situation, it's hard because there should be a real asset there. For example, I might give you a gold token to invest in, even if you don't have any gold. The next is transactional tokens, which is number 2. If we look at the currency XDAI, which is now tied to the US dollar and makes it easy for people to pay for things like coffee or buy that blouse they like at a local store, transactional tokens are used as a quick and easy way to move money. It works the same way as money. The price is now very low, though. Imagine doing more than 47,000 transactions and only having to pay $1 for each one. Try doing that with PayPal or a bank transfer to see how cheap that charge is. The third on the list is platform tokens. Platform tokens are created to help a decentralized application on the blockchain work. For example, Uniswap is a decentralized app that lets users trade Ethereum tokens with each other. Even though Uniswap is decentralized, it has its own token called the Uniswap token. This token is given to people who invest in the platform with the promise that token holders will eventually be able to vote on changes and maybe even make money. The fourth is governance tokens. The people who have governance tokens can vote on certain issues. A governance token could be something like a Uniswap. In a future version of the Uniswap market, token holders might decide to vote to raise the cost of a Uniswap transaction from 0.3% to 0.6%. If you have more tokens, you really have more power to vote, since the choice with the most votes wins. There is, of course, a pretty solid reason to hold on to more tokens. If you had more of the platform, you might be able to control it better, but then the power might be too concentrated. Utility tokens are tokens that have a value attached to them. For example, the basic attention token, which is an Ethereum token, could be used to advertise on the Brave browser. In other words, all I would need to do to promote this YouTube channel on the Brave browser is use my basic attention token. To put it another way, utility tokens work. Security tokens can only be bought and held. Utility tokens can be used in the real world. All of the different kinds of tokens have been talked about. I hope you now understand why they are important and how some of them work. I hope you now know why we need them and how some of them function. Thank you for watching. I hope you have learned something from this video. If you like this video, do give us a like, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below. Thank you and goodbye.